What if one of the most important stories you've ever believed is quietly changing every time you remember it? We trust our memories because they feel real. They shape our identity, our relationships, and every decision we make. But modern neuroscience reveals something deeply unsettling. Your brain doesn't replay the past like a movie. It rebuilds it, every single time. In today's episode of Mind Over Matter, we're exploring one of the most fascinating discoveries about the human mind. Why memory isn't a permanent archive, but a living biological process that's constantly being rewritten. And if that's true, then your past may not be as fixed as you think. Let's begin. Most of us treat our memories like a digital video archive or a museum of perfectly preserved dioramas. We rely on them to be an exact, unchanging record of our personal lore. But this personal archive doesn't exist on a rigid hard drive. It is stored entirely within physical, squishy brain tissue, which presents a strange paradox. If our identity is built on these static records, what does it mean if the very act of pulling them up to look at them causes the memories to physically shift and melt? To understand why our past is effectively a biological illusion, we have to start by looking at how a fleeting thought manages to take on a permanent physical form. Inside your head is a chaotic system made up of roughly 86 billion neurons linked together by hundreds of trillions of microscopic connections. If we look at a map of the brain, we can see how every moment you experience is split apart by the system. Different geographic areas of your cortex independently process the tiny fragments of the crescent. One region maps the light entering your eyes, another handles the sound of a voice, and a completely different section tracks the temperature of the room. For you to experience a coherent reality, all of these scattered regions have to talk to each other. They fire their electrical signals simultaneously, linking across the physical gaps to form a unified network. This synchronized pattern of activity is called a neural assembly. It is the literal physical manifestation of experiencing the present moment, but it is entirely temporary, like ripples on a pond. Unless the brain actively builds a mechanism to save this exact pattern, the electrical connections fade and the present moment instantly vanishes. Your brain can't possibly process everything happening around you, so thousands of these temporary assemblies constantly fight for dominance. Only the single assembly that demands your full attention actually wins out when that happens. A small region in your brain called the hippocampus steps in. It acts like a strict librarian, quickly drafting a blueprint of the winning assembly's exact neural layout. To decide if that blueprint is worth keeping, the brain looks for specific triggers. It prioritizes moments tagged with intense novelty, with constant repetition or a strong emotional reaction, interpreting those signals as highly relevant to your ongoing survival. If the moment passes that test, the winning assembly is bathed in specific chemicals. Especially while you sleep, the neurons involved begin sprouting new synapses, reaching out and physically locking their structures together. You now have a newly grown physical structure etched directly into your brain. Activating any part of that pattern makes the whole assembly fire, allowing you to relive a moment that is gone forever. To bring that moment back, you need an external cue, a specific smell, or a familiar sound. That cue prompts the hippocampus to locate its blueprint and fire up that hardened neural assembly. But there is a massive biological catch. If we visualize this network during recall, we can see the problem. When the assembly fires, the chemical bath returns. The neural connections you just pulled up physically soften, turning back into a highly multiple state. While those connections are soft, your current environment bleeds in. Whatever your current emotional state is, or whoever you happen to be talking to, those new details physically attach themselves to the fluid network. They reshape the assemblies. Before the lines solidify into a new permanent form, the more frequently you pull up a specific memory and think about it, the less of the original experience actually survives. Every act of remembering is an act of physical rewriting. It's biologically impossible for our personal history to ever be a totally accurate representation of reality. Evolution prioritized survival over historical accuracy. Our memory system was designed to continually update our past to help us navigate the present. Rather than keeping an objective, immutable record, since our personal lore is physically editable, the emotional weight of a past event isn't fixed. This malleability means the brain can reorganize how it reacts to even the most difficult experiences. the physical structure of a past trauma can be loosened. This is exactly why therapeutic introspection works. By deliberately recalling painful memories in a safe, calm environment, you introduce a non-threatening context into that softened neural assembly. The new information physically weakens the painful connections before the structure sets again. The static past is a biological illusion that inherent neuroplasticity gives us the physical power to rewrite our lore and intentionally change who we become. If there's one idea to carry with you from today's episode, let it be this. Your memories are not stone tablets. They're living neural patterns that evolve with you. That doesn't mean your past is fake. It means your brain was never designed to preserve history with perfect accuracy. It was designed to help you survive, adapt, and keep growing. And perhaps that's the most hopeful discovery of all. If memories can change, then healing can change them too. The stories you tell yourself today are already shaping the person you'll become tomorrow. If you enjoyed this journey into the science and philosophy of the human mind, subscribe to Mind Over Matter and join us as we explore psychology, neuroscience, consciousness, and the hidden mechanisms that shape our reality. Until next time, stay curious. And remember, the most powerful force you'll ever understand is your own mind.